I'd like to introduce you today to Owen O'Malley. Can we start by you introducing the Investment Club Network?
Okay, the Investment Club Network was born out of a wealth mastery seminar that I attended with Tony Robbins in 1996, 21 years ago. At that investment seminar, we spent 6 long days with the wealthiest people on the planet and 24 of the most successful investors at that particular time. I came home from that seminar and began to practice part-time alongside my day job, and as a result of my success was able to leave my day job, and from a desire by some people to explain to them how it all works, I set up the very first investment club. An investment club is what it says on this slide. It's a group of people that meet once a month for 1 hour. They pool all their resources and knowledge and make democratic, sensible decisions. The investment club is a safe, supportive environment that is very time efficient for you high reds out there that like efficiency. We literally meet one hour per month. We do our trades 1 hour per month. And it's a very powerful system because we just do 4 very simple things. Within the Investment Club Network, we teach you to invest, but we also coach you to success. The 4 things we do is, number 1, we identify the best companies in the world. 2, we make sure they're good value for money. 3, we rent the shares. We treat them like you would treat a property. We collect a rental income from the shares. We use that rental income to buy more shares and to eventually end up owning the shares for free. And that's our 4th and final quadrant, is the protective side of what we do. You want to move to the next slide, James?
Absolutely.
We can be. So the company was incorporated in 2001. An education company was born in 2001 in a very remote and rural location in northwest Donegal, Ireland. Since then, we've taken 25,000 global graduates through our 2-day seminar. We've initiated 1,200 investment clubs in 52 countries, and we now deliver education in 15 different languages. We also go to schools and teach for free 15, 16-year-olds in transition year programs.
Okay.
My background was in science, and my profession was a salmon farmer for 12 years. So if you're listening to this program and saying to yourself, well, you need to be successful in banking or accountancy or finance to be successful in the stock market, let me share with you that I had no experience whatsoever, and after teaching 25,000 people over the last 20 years, I can share with you quite categorically your background, your race, your religion, your sex, your education level has absolutely no relevance when it comes to being able to learn how to trade the stock market. I know every single one of you listening to this recording can be successful in the stock market. You just have to be prepared to come to the table to learn, because we come to this table willing to teach you. The reason why I show you this photograph is my son Paul at age 6 and my daughter Kira at age 8 did our 2-day program, and I've been trading the stock market through an investment club from that moment on, and my son has been trading his own real account with real money since he was 8 years of age. He's now 22 years of age, and he's a very successful investor.
He's a credit to you, Owen, and also he's just a credit to the whole system that you've developed, because I think you've shared with me as to how tremendously successful he has become.
The only difference between Paul and the people listening to this recording is Paul was open to learn, and we could take all the money of Paul now, but we cannot take the skill that he has for the rest of his life to be able to use the power of compound interest to be able to make money work very powerfully for him. We have educated all over the world. So what we're looking at here is a slide of me delivering a lecture to over 3,000 people in Brazil. This is me teaching in English, and the guy beside me with the microphone is teaching in Portuguese. This is me teaching, addressing 3,500 people in Dublin as I introduced Tony Robbins on stage in January of 2016.
And we also have Anna on the phone now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly, James. Thank you.
Okay, and Anna, if I could just mention, we're talking about the global aspect of TICN and how Owen has been traveling, but you've been doing a lot of that traveling as well, haven't you?
Yes, I have indeed, James. When I met Owen, you see, the idea was that I would translate everything into Spanish and bring this fabulous project to the Spanish-speaking community, which is the 3rd largest in the world. So, big task there. However, you see, as time went on and I got to learn the project from within, then I fell in love with it, and I decided and Owen allowed me to to keep traveling and to help other people in other countries to develop this project in their countries. You see, because as a new beginner, I could sort of mellow down the high red language and high red manners of Owen. I'm a high yellow myself. So it was, I've been acting as a bridge between his way of acting, the high red, and people beginning. If they are not high reds, you see, it's hard to follow through because he's running, and you see, chances are that when he turns around, nobody's following. And I'm sort of a bridge there. So
from the different cultures, because as Owen pointed out, it makes no difference as to background or culture, that everyone can learn this age, just like IMA. And so as a result, though, by your being Spanish and being able to introduce it into the Spanish market and also some of these European markets. Owen, as an example, you did a program in Estonia recently, or you both did?
Yep.
Yeah, we have a beautiful leadership team in Estonia, absolutely.
And I know you've done amazing work in Poland, and I'm part Polish, so I really am drawn to that part of the world, and I can see here one of your real success stories is Conrad here, who is also a high red, but he has been amazingly successful, hasn't he?
Yes, and the whole Polish team have been incredibly successful because we've got Anna, who's a high yellow, Connor's a high red. We've got Camel on the right hand side of this photograph, who's a high blue. And in the early days, we had Andre as well, who was high green, who covered all the legal side of it. That been his profession. So we have a very powerful team in Poland, basically because we've got all the strands of the IMA styles, communication styles, when it comes to dealing with the Polish population. So a very successful team in Poland, yes.
So Poland, and here again, from a time standpoint, each one of these individuals have a particular story. I've had the good fortune of talking with many of them that have had real success stories, and it's just a credit to you that you are actually, have not just kept this information for yourself, you are sharing the system with other people, and as a result, they are benefiting from it, but you are also making an enormous number of friends all around the world as a result of it. And here you are in Spain.
Yes, here's a group of almost 50 people in Madrid, and then we've got Italy, we've got London, if you want to keep going through the slides, we've got Las Vegas. In the US, we also operate extensively in Africa, in Australia. And so as we say, our information has now been translated into 15 different languages, and we've operated in 52 different countries, even in Wales.
Yes, and in this particular case now, I met some people when I was with you in January in Ireland. I met some people from all over Europe, some wonderful people. And I can see that looks like Anders there here, the back of him. Would that be Anders by any chance?
That's Anna beside him. So Anders again is a high green, and we've got Anna who's a high blue beside him. We've got Stina who's a high yellow, who's part of the team. We've got Peter who's a high red. So again, and Henrik is a high yellow. So we've got a very powerful team in Sweden, again using the IMA system.
So it goes hand in hand, doesn't it? And it helps because each of the four IMA styles have a different learning style, so they have to be taught in a different way. And so by being able to build a peak performance team, and you actually do that within the clubs, don't you? Because you use IMA, then you identify there are certain duties that certain people have more aptitude for than others. And so by mixing the colors within a club.
Yes, very powerful, because there are three basic human skills necessary to be successful in the stock market. One is visual, to be able to read a chart and to recognize the predictable patterns, just as you say many times, James, that people behave in predictable patterns. Well, guess what? The stock market also behaves in predictable patterns, because when you look at a graph of, say, the price of Nokia shares going up and down, what you're effectively looking at is that you're looking at a cluster or a collective group of maybe 200,000 or 300,000 individuals on the planet who are making decisions to buy and sell shares in Nokia, and they do operate using predictable patterns. So one skill is to be very creative and imaginative and visual, and that's where the high yellows come in. The high yellows can typically be able to see patterns in a graph. The second skill necessary is to be able to analyze a company and make sure it's fundamentally sound and it's very strong financially. And so our high greens absolutely love that side of things. They love the spreadsheets, they love the data, they love crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And then the high blues carry a very important role within the club, because they make sure that everybody gets on well with each other. They're almost like the glue that holds the club members together. They're very much focused on the personalities and make sure everybody's getting along with each other. And then you've got the high reds, who basically are the people that can say, well, let's make sure we get things done, because we meet for 1 hour online per month, so our time is precious to make decisions in the market, and that's where the high red comes in and says, right, let's make sure we get some trades executed now before the market closes at 9 p.m. London time. And so again, it's a combination of the four IMA styles, works incredibly well within an investment club. And before I met James, I couldn't understand why there was a lot of people maybe not getting on so well with each other, and it's simply down to the fact that they did not understand each other. And I love the fact that the IMA very quickly in a 10 clicks of a mouse questionnaire can basically help people understand how they operate, how they communicate with each other, and how they can use that to strengthen the club rather than weaken the club. And so you can see here, one of the things that I want to highlight from this photograph that we're showing you here is that the Africans have got a deep desire to learn. So when you look at this photograph here, they're absolutely passionate desire to learn. And that's what I would say to people again. Those of you listening to this call, if you come to this project with a desire to learn, we come to the project with a desire to teach, and that's a very powerful combination, because we can share with you a success strategy that's very time efficient and has proven to get results consistently once the system has been applied.
My dad used to have a saying, Owen, where he used to say, don't tell the butcher how to cut the meat. And then when I worked with the Dale Carnegie organization, I learned another one, which is amateurs teach amateurs to be amateurs. And so the importance of dealing with an expert who knows the fundamentals and most importantly is interested in you and your development. And that's one of the things that has drawn me to your organization and TICN is your attitude, which is you are genuinely interested in helping the people that you're working with experience success. And
Yes,
as a result in that, that's one of the things that drives you to keep doing this, isn't it?
absolutely. And not only that, we make it our business every year to go to the US to do a tour of the stock exchanges in Chicago and New York. But the most important thing we do is we get to spend a day with Warren Buffett, as the single most successful investor in the history of the planet, and we get to hear him speak for 6.5 hours at his annual general meeting in Omaha, Nebraska. And we're going to go again this 6th of May. So we continually keep in touch with what's happening on the global scene in terms of the stock market, both by listening to and learning from Warren Buffett and visiting with and talking to those people on the floor, the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, some of the top traders in the US that trade funds of in excess of 1.2 billion. We take that information back every year and share that with our club members. One of the reasons why I have this slide here is that I tell a joke when the Africans heard that I could teach them how to make money, they came running after me, but this is actually a 12,000 race in South Africa called the Comrades, a very famous 56-mile race, 90-kilometer race. This is me crossing the halfway line with 28 miles done, 28 miles to do.
Oh.
And the reason why I shared the slide with you is that Chris Elphick, the guy beside me, he had already done this very difficult race 8 times. I'll tell you how difficult it is. While I did that race, 2 people actually died on that race, doing the race. One guy had the experience of running the race 14 times, yet he actually died on that race. So it's a very tough event. And so this guy, Chris Elphick, who's standing beside me, he taught me exactly how to prepare for the race, how to train, how to eat, and we successfully crossed the line together. So again, for those of you that are higher ed, that are very big into time efficiency and into getting results, this guy showed me exactly how to do this comrades race. I copied his strategies and we successfully completed it. 2,000 people actually failed to finish this race, even though everybody had done a marathon that year. So that's what we're saying to you about the Investment Club Network. You don't have to make the mistakes that we made in the early days when we had no help and no guidance. All you need to do is follow our time efficient system and you'll get some excellent results in the market.
And here again, I think that the key to it is that if you're open to looking, if you're open to learning and then practicing the right things that an expert teaches you, then you're going to get the kind of results that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Monkey see, monkey do. Absolutely. We also work as part of giving back to society. We go to schools and we teach for free, and we teach the teachers to teach the programs after we leave. And this is us working with 15 and 16-year-olds in a transition year where we give them $100,000 of a simulated account and they practice with, and then after that they trade with real money. So this is me handing cash prizes to the winners. An interesting social experiment is that the girls always beat the guys in the trading game. So Warren Buffett has a very famous saying is that when all feel fear, you should feel confident, and when all feel confident, you should feel fear. What he's simply saying is that most people do the opposite to Warren Buffett and fail miserably in the stock market. So to be successful in the stock market, you've got to do opposite to most people. Most people buy shares when they're at the very high points, when the world and its mother is telling you how good it is, but it's already too late because it's about to fall. Most people run a mile away from the stock market when we're fed with the negativity of, look at how low the market is now. Making money in the stock market is very, very simple. You buy low, you sell high, you make a profit. But emotionally, it's very difficult to make decisions to buy when it's low because you psychologically think it's going to go lower and go out of business, and you're going to think you're going to lose all your money. Also, when the shares are very high, people get greedy and have a human emotion of a fear of loss. I better buy this thing before it goes any higher. We've seen real examples of this twice in the last 3 or 4 years. Once, a couple of years ago, when Apple shares were trading at $700 a share, and everybody in the world believed that Apple was going to go as high as $1,000 a share by the end of the year, and millions of people around the planet bought shares of Apple computer at $700 per share and proceeded to lose money because it did not go from 700 to 1,000. It dropped from 700 down to 400. And so an equally interesting story, 4 years ago Nokia was trading at $2 a share, and everybody believed that Nokia was going to go out of business. In fact, when we took a close look at the company, it had been around since 1865. It had 13 billion of cash. It did need to be rescued, even though there was a headline went around the planet that the Finland government refused to bail out Nokia. It did not need bailing out. It was very cash rich, very cash positive. It was actually using $1 billion of its own money to buy back its own shares from the market, because when the shares were trading at $2 a share, the actual cash value of the share was $2.50. So we were able to buy $2.50 of cash for $2 and effectively buy the shares for free. Nokia did not go out of business. It's still in business today, and it is thriving. And that investment we made of $2 a share went back up to $8 a share within a relatively short period of time, whereas most people ran a mile away from Nokia because they did not know to do some decent research.
Oh, and this is just a great case in point of what we were talking about earlier. First of all, everybody listening today, it takes so long to develop a specialization and expertise in a particular thing. I don't care what type of profession it is. And generally, by investing all our time, energy, ambition, and courage in our profession, that we just don't have time left to be able to learn all the intricacies of a particular area.
I agree with you.
We spend all our time trying to make money and so on. And so what needs to be done is to find somebody that you trust that has some type of a system, and then follow their system, because it takes more than one lifetime to learn everything that you would need to learn.
Yes, if you look at Warren Buffett, yeah, he's been doing it since he was 6 years of age, and his partner Charlie Munger, they've been working together for over 50 years. So I agree with you 100%. As Malcolm Gladwell says in his book, The Tipping Point, When somebody spent 10,000 hours at a particular profession, then they're an expertise. And why should you spend 10,000 hours trying to copy their expertise? Why don't you just copy their strategies and get similar results? So I very strongly agree with you, James. It's all about modeling success, especially those of you that are listening to this recording and maybe coming into your later stage of your life. There's no need to waste time trying to learn stuff. Just copy those people that have already learned it. It is a fact by age 65, 95% of people are either dead or dead broke. Of the 7.5 billion souls running around this planet right now, 95% of them are never going to become financially free. One of the ways for you to become financially free is to figure out a way that money works for you as well as you working for money. Most of us are brainwashed in society through our education system, through religion, through our parents, through the media, that we must go to school, get a degree, go to college, get a job, work for somebody for the rest of your life. It's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for failure when it comes to becoming financially free. The only way to become financially free is to get money to work for you. Most of us believe that our house is an asset. It's not an asset. It's actually a liability. It costs us money. So the whole secret of success that I learned 21 years ago when I attended the Tony Robbins Wealth Mastery is you got to go out like a madman and buy assets like crazy. Just put every spare penny you have to buy assets, and buy assets that give you an income. And those assets that give you an income, use that income to buy more assets. And the more assets you have, the more income you can generate. The more income you generate, the more assets you can buy, and therefore you're on the pathway to financial freedom. Every investment club we treat like a business, even if it's only a small investment club with €100 per person per month or £80 sterling per person per month. They have a clear plan of doing a return of 4% a month. Now they're not going to do 4% a month in the beginning because they're only just getting going. They're only just going through the education process. They're just getting through the process of setting up the club. But certainly once the club has reached a critical mass of $25,000, at that stage they should be in a position to make 4% a month. If you look at the power of compound interest, if James and I were to go and play a game of golf, and we said to each other, let's bet 10 cents on the first hole and 20 seconds on the second hole and 40 seconds on the third hole, etc. If we kept doubling every hole and James bet me every single hole but got pissed off and left the golf course after 10 holes of golf because I have no competition, I have no challenge to him, he would only walk away with £50. But if James stayed on the golf course for another 8 holes, he would walk away with £26,000 simply by hanging around for those last 8 holes. The reason why most people are not successful in investments is they just don't wait around long enough for success. They don't know that the true power of compound interest kicks in the second 10 years, not the first 10 years. In fact, if you look at it, there's a massive difference between the second 5 years and the first 5 years. So the message is stay in the program. Definition of a coach is someone who will tell you what you do not want to hear, show you what you do not want to see in order for you to become all that you could be. I know my heart and soul, each and every one of you can be. I know that every one of you can be successful in the stock market. You just need to be shown how. In society, we're either employees, employers, self-employed, or investors. It's only the investors that become financially free. Many people have invested but failed miserably in property, wine, precious metals, etc. The true successful investor is somebody who focuses on these 4 key things. 1, it must be a quality company. 2, it must be good value for money. 3, it must be an asset that you can rent to generate an income from. And 4, you must be able to protect your money in the market. They're the 4 cornerstones of success that you need to be successful in the market. They are very, very simple. Simple to say, but once you learn them, simple to do. You just need to learn how to recognize quality in the market, how to recognize value in the market, how to recognize those shares that will give you a rental income, and how to recognize and use that rental income to protect your money in the market. We have a very simple system in the market. Again, for you high-res listening to this recording, you absolutely love the simplicity and the time efficiency of our system. There are 30,000 companies in the market to choose from. We work with a company called Value Line who reports on the top 6,000 companies. We teach you over a 2-day program how to narrow it down to 300 companies, then down to 30 companies, then down to 10, then down to 5, and then down to 1 or 2. It takes us 2 days to teach you the system, but once you've perfected it, you can go to the stock market any moment of your life, and within a half an hour you can get to the bottom line, best companies to invest in. And that's a skill you will have for the rest of your life. Just like I said earlier, you could take all the money from my son, but you cannot take the skill away from him. How do we identify quality companies? We look at 7 key things. It must be in a good industry that's experiencing growth. It must be timeless. It must be safe. It must have very low debt to equity. Must be volatile but not too volatile. It must have an excellent track record in the past 5 years of sales and the future 5 years of sales. Must have an excellent track record in the past 5 years of profit and the future 5 years of profit. And it must have an excellent management team. You might say to us, oh, come on, how can we predict the future 5 years? Well, we work with a company called Valueland who've been around since 1931, and they've got an excellent track record over the last 86 years of being accurately able to predict the future before it happens, based on collecting data for the last 86 years. So the next thing is, how do we identify value? We look at 7 key things for value to know when it's the right time to buy. 1, we look at the price. 2, we look at the dividend policy. 3, we look at the potential for the share price to grow in the future relative to the rest of the market. 4, we look at the sales compared to the profit. 5, we look at a very simple, very powerful formula to identify value in the market. That's price divided by profit. Similar to a house. If you bought a house for 60,000 and you were able to collect 6,000 rent a year, you would have a PE ratio, price to earnings, of 10 to 1. We do the exact same simple formula in the stock market to find those companies that are unbelievable value for money. We also look at, we recognize that every single share on the stock market does increase plus 50% and minus 50% from its average price every single year, regardless of which stock exchange it trades in. It's just worldwide. That's exactly where publicly traded companies trade, fluctuate massively from the 52-week low to the 52-week high. So we know this, and we identify those companies that are trading closer to the lower end of their scale rather than the higher end of the scale. And then lastly, we look at, this is something that Anna absolutely loves, is what we call reward to risk ratio. The share must be 3 times more likely to rise and fall in the future. Again, it's a score out of 52. If the score is greater than 40 out of 52, then it gets a 4 for quality, 4 for price. 99% of companies on the planet will fail the first test, and 99.9% of companies will fail the second test. So before we put our hands in our pocket and spend 1 single penny on buying a share in the stock market, we run our companies through these 2 filters, if you like, and we get rid of 99.9% of the companies in the stock market and only focus on the best 0.1%. So in summary, once we buy our shares, we treat them exactly as you would treat an asset. Those of you that are out there that maybe have some experience in trading property, once you understand the power of our project, you may take a second thought about doing property. You could buy a house for 400,000 euros, and if you're lucky and can find tenants that will look after the house for you, you can maybe collect 1,000 a month rent, and it's going to cost you 400 euros per annum to insure your property. With as little as $20,000 in your account, you can collect $1,000 worth of income. So this proves to you that shares properly selected, properly traded, are 20 times more powerful than property when it comes to the stock market. So in summary, there's 4 key things you need to learn. 1, you need to be able to identify a quality company at the right price. And 2, you need 2 at the right price. 3, you need to rent it. 4, you need to insure it. We do have a unique coaching program within the Investment Club network. With your permission, we can drive your computer remotely from anywhere in the world to help you with your technology challenges. We run 5 webinars, live webinars, 200 hours of live support every year, 5 webinars a week. The Investment Club is a very supportive environment based on some of the aforementioned skill sets that you need. Also, with some very powerful TISN tools that we've refined over the last 20 years. We can operate through an efficient fund environment. Every club we work with has an experienced club coordinator who has already beaten the path of the jungle of the stock market, and we give you $1 million simulated trading platform to practice with. So in summary, if we go to the next slide, you have many choices after listening to this presentation. You can become educated and coached by us and join a local investment club. You can become educated and coached by us and form your own investment club. It only takes 3 people to start an investment club. If there are 2 people that you know, like, and trust, and they know, like, and trust you, you have the genesis of an investment club. You can become educated by us and coached by us and invest independently without joining an investment club. You do not have to join an investment club. You can become educated and coached by us and participate in a fund environment, or you can do some or all of the above.
And also, Owen, for yourself, if anyone has any specific questions for you.
Owen at TICN.com. OWEN at TICN.com. My mission, James, is to go out and create 1 million millionaires before we finish this project. So if you listen to this presentation and you want to become a millionaire and you have a desire to learn, then you need to get in touch with us, because as I said, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning, is to create as many millionaires before I leave this earthly plane. as far as I'm concerned, this is a 500-year plus plan. And what I mean by that specifically is that if I teach you to become financially free, guess what? You're going to teach your kids and they're going to teach their kids. And so therefore you're going to change the direction of your lineage forever. A small step here to listen to this presentation tonight could be a massive legacy for you and your generations to come.